Hello and welcome to live coverage of a momentous day, the meeting of world-class athletes, 8-time Olympic gold medalists and one of the most famous sportsmen on the planet. Usain Bolt will be put through his paces with Borussia Dortmund, a team with their own world champions, Andre Schürrle and Mario Gotze. Alongside me, John Hartley, is Archie Rintut for the duration of today's session. Archie, Bolt has a long-held dream to see if he can make the transition into football. He's here at Borussia Dortmund, and it's fair to say he's looking to impress.
Yes, morning, John. Borussia Dortmund coach Peter Stöger was saying yesterday that Bolt wants to test himself, and to be honest, what better place could there be to test yourself than at a club like Borussia Dortmund? Third in the Bundesliga right now, but as we've seen in the past few years, a club with real Champions League pedigree as well, reaching the final in 2013, and I think through that getting themselves fans, not just in Germany, but across the world, and I'm sure that that helped earn the respect in terms of many, and indeed, I can understand why Usain Bolt would want to come to a club like Borussia Dortmund and train.
Well, players are starting to come onto the pitch, and the training staff as well, the coaching staff. We've already seen Gonzalo Castro making his way towards the pitch. And we are awaiting Usain Bolt. He will be wearing, well, no club number, but he will be wearing UB09. And the 09, of course, very poignant, as there he is, Usain Bolt. The 09 very poignant, as it was the year of the founding of Borussia Dortmund. There he is. Usain Bolt is taking his place on the training pitches at Borussia Dortmund's training facility in the suburb of Brakel, alongside Mario Gotze, Julian Weigl and Nuri Sahin. And listen to the reception he's getting. There's space here for 1,800, Archie. It looks like it's pretty much packed out. So much interest about seeing a world global star like Usain Bolt alongside other world stars like Mario Gotze and Andre Schürrle.
He seems to be getting quite friendly there with Julian Weigl already, but yes, plenty of support in for Usain Bolt and Borussia Dortmund as well. Already seeing in the crowd one or two Jamaica flags as well. I'm sure that'll make him feel a little bit more at home than the weather will anyway, because it's only 5 degrees here in Dortmund today, some 20 degrees lower than he would expect back in Jamaica, where he lived and indeed has trained up until retiring from athletics back last August. So it'll be interesting to see how he actually copes with the conditions here in Dortmund. He looks a little bit warmer than he did yesterday, than when he was in his little private training session with the rest of the squad.
Well, that's what we have to say as well, that Usain Bolt did train with the team yesterday in a closed training session. This one, the public training session, and the start of the warm-up routine. Anybody expecting him to come straight out of the blocks, he's going to have to warm up as well.
Let's be honest, we are all hoping for some sort of little sprint session at some point, because that is everything that he is renowned for. I mean, I think as well, there are some things that he will be able to actually, I think, bring across to the Borussia Dortmund players, and you look at just how laid back he always was in such high pressure environments. This is obviously not one of those high pressure environments. This is a training session, but for him and how seriously that he's taking this is very much a big deal.
Well, the fastest man on the planet is taking a very leisurely jog to start his training session with Borussia Dortmund. Now, just remind us of that world record for the 100 metres. 9.58 seconds. 9.58
seconds, and it was at the Olympiastadion, a place where Borussia Dortmund themselves have enjoyed success. That was back in 2009, though. But he has fond memories of Germany, I think we can say, but I'm sure that a few other squad members there could regale him with their own personal successes as well. Borussia Dortmund winning in that stadium just last summer against Eintracht Frankfurt in the final of the DFB Pokal, no less. So some things held in common there, but I would perhaps say maybe more with Mario Gotze, perhaps I would say the most in common in terms of performing at the highest point on the world stage.
scoring that goal to win the 2014 World Cup in Brazil. Of course, Usain Bolt also has had his experiences in Rio as well.
Indeed. 2 Olympic gold medals there, and another 6 following in terms of the previous 2 Olympic Games as well. Just the way that he consistently performed on the world stage, I think that sort of experience, if he can get that across to players, I'm sure that that's part of what the Borussia Dortmund players will be getting out of this exercise as much as anything.
So let's talk about Usain Bolt's desire to play football. Now he's been doing some he's been doing a few bits and pieces in the background. He has said for a long time that he loves the game and he'd love to make that transition. Now, he was training in January. He did a training session similar to this one with Mamelodi Sundowns in South Africa in January. Came away from that and said, I'm going to have to put some work in. So he's gone back to Jamaica and has really been trying to put in the sessions to bring himself up to scratch. Also said that after retiring, wasn't quite at the fitness level, but getting fit is something that he knows how to do.
It is, but perhaps that's why he's pulled the snoot up early on, just to show in case he is blowing that he's not too much out of breath. But no, I mean, you just look at the condition that he's in. You wouldn't exactly look at Usain Bolt and say that he looks unfit.
No, absolutely not.
He was saying back then, as you were saying, that he wasn't feeling too fit, but you'd wonder where, given all the assets that he has, in terms of, I think the big asset to mention is, of course, the considerable amount of pace that he possesses. You wonder where he would perhaps best fit in terms of positionally on the football pitch.
Well, he said in interviews that he sees himself as a winger, which is quite a logical decision, really.
But given the competition for places at Borussia Dortmund, that's perhaps one of the one places I definitely wouldn't want to play. In terms of, you look at the competition that he has from players like Marco Reus, Christian Pulisic. I think, if anything, given his stature, you can understand why that he's been seen as a striker before.
Well, that's right. He has also said that coaches have been really suggesting that he would make a better striker than he would a winger. I'm going to throw something out there, actually 2 things. He said that when he started playing football when he was at primary school, that he was a goalkeeper. He'd make an amazing sweeper keeper with that pace.
Are you thinking along the lines of a Manuel Neuer kind of figure here, then?
Even if the ball's running away from him, he'd more than make up the ground, I feel.
Okay, I feel that. Perhaps as well as a centre-back, though, in terms of the presence that he could offer there. But also, I'm thinking, if you're trying to play a higher line, and if the ball goes over the top, okay, your striker may think that he's going to run onto it, but by the time that Usain Bolt has turned and is indeed running back towards you, I still think he's going to catch you up.
And if he doesn't get the tackle in first time, he will probably get a second or a third attempt.
Probably, yes.
Well, let's be honest, 9.58 seconds to do the 100 metres is, well, nobody has bettered it. He is the fastest man in the world. And that's impressive. And let's really put this in perspective of how impressive it is. How fast was that in kilometres per hour?
I believe 44.72 kilometres per hour.
Right, 44.72 kilometres an hour. Of course, that's flat out, just going for it. No ball involved, no football match taking place. However, the fastest player on the Borussia Dortmund team this season, surprisingly for me, actually, is Uma Toprak.
Ah, that's something you wouldn't necessarily expect, particularly given the way that you've got so many speedsters in terms of going forward. Even Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang previously is somebody you would have probably expected to top that statistic.
Absolutely.
So that is surprising.
Toprak, 35 kilometres an hour. So we're talking around about 9, actually just less than 9 kilometres an hour more when Bolt is in world record form. That's an incredibly, so much faster than Omar Toprak. That is what we're saying, is what the difference is between a fast footballer and a world-class, the best that there has ever been sprinter.
Well, it's a similar figure as well, actually, to the top sprinter in the Bundesliga this season, that being Ilas Bebu of Hanover, who actually struck against Borussia Dortmund earlier this season. But somebody else who has actually been talking about how he looks very closely at how Usain Bolt starts his sprints as well. So I think there's a lot to take away in terms of from the way that Bolt actually prepares himself. But I'm also interested to see what Bolt can take away from training with a club like Borussia Dortmund as well.
I think for Borussia Dortmund and for Usain Bolt, this is an incredible opportunity. So Usain Bolt, he's taking this very, very seriously. He wants to impress. He wants to show what he can do. And I think that, out of respect of such a top-level performer, that will and desire, he's got it in spades. He's going to show what he can do. And for Borussia Dortmund can lose nothing out of this situation. They have somebody with them who really wants to show what they can do, and with that mentality, even if he's only here for a few days, even if this doesn't turn into a long-term thing, which would be, to be amazing if it was. It would be fantastic. But just to have someone like Usain Bolt around, talking to the players, instilling this will-to-win mentality, is absolutely incredible. Well, let's just have a look at all of the cameras, the interest that's here for this training session from Usain Bolt. Now, the figures are also quite incredible, the amount of media interest from around the world that's here. Let's just have a little look at some of the numbers. So not only is there space for 1,800 to see this, so around about 140 accredited journalists and media people, around 25 camera teams, 25 photographers. Let's be fair, it was always going to be of great interest to people.
Yes, and I think that's why it's becoming more intriguing. Kind of the more that they warm up, the higher the chances are, hopefully, that we're going to see a little bit more of Usain Bolt. Perhaps if they're playing in a small-sided game, we won't see perhaps the true extent of his speed. But I'm hoping that perhaps they open up the pitch a little bit more, so that maybe we do get the chance to see him open up.
I think for Bolt fans that aren't necessarily football fans, that's the dream, isn't it? To see that pace on show, him chasing onto a ball. But the likelihood is, most training sessions like this, small-sided games, will we see the pace? That's the question.
You can see the interest as well from the Borussia Dortmund stadium announcer and club legend Norbert Dickel, taking pictures there of Bolt as well.
Well, Nobby Dickel, a legendary striker in these parts, and he must be very, very interested to see what Bolt is like as a striker. I'm sure that Nobby Dickel has probably been giving him also a few tips.
If there's anyone to really convey everything that Borussia Dortmund means as a club, and somebody whose English is also quite good as well, then I think that Norbert Dickel is the perfect man to put that across, particularly given the connection that he has with the Borussia Dortmund fans as well.
So we're getting to see Bolt first time with the ball, but before that, see that legendary sprinting action. That is the Usain Bolt that we know. Not up to full speed yet, but hopefully, well, all the fans here watching it, that is surely what they're hoping as well.
Absolutely, particularly when they've been in for over an hour at the training ground, and as we were saying, not the warmest of days in Dortmund, but now we are actually getting a chance to see Usain Bolt on the ball. This is where I think it really gets intriguing for me, John.
Indeed. So we know that Usain Bolt can run. We've seen that.
I've heard, yes.
We have heard that he's quite a good. He's quite good at running. Now with the ball. So he's got a couple of good technicians alongside him as well. Nuri Sahin, Julian Weigl and Mario Gotze.
And Jeremy Toljan there as well, a fellow Olympian as well.
This is true. This is very true. They can talk about their Olympic experiences. Jeremy Toljan won Olympic silver with Germany at the Rio Olympics. So Bolt has outdone him there a little bit with goals.
Just a touch.
But Toljan played in the final against Brazil. So there is a connection there. I'm sure that, or maybe Toljan didn't bring in his silver medal just in case Usain brought out 8 golds.
I would imagine not. But I think that you hear even the footballers when they talk about the experience of being part of the Olympic Games and how special that is.
That was a very special experience for them. They've all talked about how much of a great experience it was.
But Toljan as well is one of the quickest players in the Borussia Dortmund squad as well.
That's true, very true. Yeah, 34.87 kilometres an hour he's been clocked at this season. So actually number 2 behind Ömer Toprak.
But I think the thing to say as well, we're looking at those speeds there of the Borussia Dortmund players, or those top speeds from Borussia Dortmund players this season. But I think that what really separates footballers in terms of, in this sense, as Usain Bolt goes into the middle, is just is this change of direction and how quickly they are able to change direction. And you can even see it in these kind of small-sided games there.
Absolutely. Well, we saw Bolt in the middle there, and those long legs came into play. Managing to put a block in.
A good precise pass through the middle there. I think he's got about 4 or 5 now without...
A couple of touches have gone astray, that has to be said. But let's really put this into perspective and how high the level is here. You might think, okay, they're just passing the ball around, but the pace that these guys pass the ball around and that mere mortals like the likes of you and I pass the ball around is totally different. So he's having to adjust to a group of players who are some of the best in Europe, even in these kind of, you know, warm-up passing game situations.
Absolutely, and that's not an easy transition to make either. And you see him though, he looks so incredibly relaxed as we've been used to seeing him over the years. I don't think this crowd here today is anything intimidating for him. I think maybe it's different for Usain Bolt because any pressure that there will just be being put on by himself instead of any real hype around it as such.
Well, he's keen to impress, and Peter Stöger, the Borussia Dortmund coach, just behind, so he's not very far away to be able to keep an eye on the progress of Usain Bolt. Nice little outside of the boot to get the ball through to the other side of the square.
Seems very comfortable with his left foot, I have to say.
From all the footage that I've been watching in the build-up to this, very much a left footer. So maybe we'll see what happens with the right foot
at some point. It seems that's been used mainly for standing so far, but
there are plenty of footballers even at this level who can say that as well. He's not alone there.
True. There was the right, and a nice dink through with the left. as well. But he seems certainly at home, and also keeping up with the pace of it as well. Although I don't know whether this is the most rigorous that I've seen the rondos at Borussia Dortmund, but all the same, I think this is still very much part of the warm-up for them.
Absolutely. Getting adjusted, getting warmed up on the ball. And it's an integral part of any training session, just to get yourself up to speed. Well, these fans have seen some fast players at Borussia Dortmund.
In recent years as well.
Absolutely.
The likes of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, who actually, when Captain Marcel Schmelzer was talking about Aubameyang lacking from training January 2017, so just over a year ago, was saying that the only person that they could really have in instead of Aubameyang in terms of to replicate the speed would be Usain Bolt.
Well, that was, you know, that was the part of the thing with Aubameyang, to say that, you know, over a very short distance, could he give Bolt a run for his money? Well, we don't get to see that, but we will get to see, hopefully, what it's like against some of the other Borussia Dortmund players.
But you see what difference speed could make in terms of with somebody like Aubameyang at Borussia Dortmund, in terms of just over those short distances, where when defenders think that they're able to mark him, and then you just lose him out of sight for half a second, and he's nipped round the back and scored. So you can see what kind of a difference that can make in terms of just having that unbelievable turn of pace and acceleration.
Bolt still on the outside of the square. Well, he is good with his head, showing it already. And he's got the height. That's one of the things. You could just see the difference between him and the rest of the players. That was one of the things as a sprinter as well, that was such a surprising thing, that sprinters don't come in that height normally.
No, and he redefined it in that sense as well. But at 1.95 m today, and with Dan Axel Zagadou out injured, he is the tallest player on the pitch for Borussia Dortmund today. And in fact, even if you look down the Borussia Dortmund squad, you only have Andrei Yarmolenko, who's out injured, and Alexander Isak, who's away on international duty today, who are then the next challengers to him, and they're some 5 centimetres smaller. So I think he certainly does have a height advantage there. I wonder if they are going to practice set pieces at some point, because then he could maybe show that off.
I'm going to make a Borussia Dortmund comparison, and this is only by height, because I'm sure that speed-wise, Bolt absolutely would win this race. Jan Koller. Yes, he is that sort of stature, isn't he?
He is. I think he's a bit quicker than Jan Koller.
Absolutely.
But it's certainly in terms of stature as well. But also a great figure to pick out in terms of how beloved he was by the Borussia Dortmund fans.
Absolutely.
As well. This looks something like a sprint session, John.
Well, getting those legs moving. What I want to see is just when they get over those, get past those little hurdles, and just start to break away. I want another player to be next to him at that point, just to see the acceleration, even if it's just restrained acceleration.
It's the sort of debate that you hear across bars in Germany and all over the world in terms of who would be the quickest player, who could take on each other in terms of in a sprint race. So to see it so tantalizingly close,
yep,
to that prospect as to who would win. Who do you think of this Borussia Dortmund squad would be best placed in terms of racing, Bolt? For me, I would look at somebody like Jeremy Toljan. Even if Ömer Toprak has the top value there, I think that particularly the way that seeing that Jeremy Toljan was able to so effortlessly, particularly in the European Championships in the under-21 version of that last summer, was so able to so effortlessly have so much energy going back and forth.
I would also say Toljan. For me, I think you also have to look at wingers.
Yeah.
Okay, Yarmolenko's not here today. He's injured. Christian Pulisic is the other one for me, where I'm saying, I know he's quick. He's very quick. He shows it in the Bundesliga. He shows it for the US men's national team. He shows it in European football as well. How quick he is. It's always very impressive. And then he's got this man, Usain Bolt, standing next to him.
Perhaps that's the reason why Andrei Yarmolenko's happy for Usain Bolt to have the number 9 today as well, because
the 09, yes,
because number 9 is owned by Andrei Yarmolenko at Borussia Dortmund at present.
Right, things are spreading out a little bit now. So more of a small-sided game.
Here we go.
That's one of the things that he's going to have to really get used to. We talk about his speed. We've talked a lot about his speed. But what he's up against now is he's up against players who aren't just sort of quick in football terms, but they know where they have to run. They can anticipate situations, and they close down space very quickly because of what they know as footballers. And that is what Usain Bolt now has to adjust to.
But also just knowing exactly that action that you're going to take next.
Absolutely.
Particularly the likes of somebody there like Julian Weigl, who's on the ball. Somebody who is a real architect of the game in terms of from deep. Somebody who knows each time he gets the ball where the ball is then going. And you wonder, can you see that same thought process evolve in Bolt?
Now, of course, Bolt is at a disadvantage here. Now, we have to say that, because these Borussia Dortmund players have played together for a long time. So they work on shapes, they work on runs, and they know each other as players. So they know that when they get the ball, where to expect the next player to be. And Usain Bolt doesn't know that. So he's going to get the ball, and he's going to be thinking, right, where's my next pass? And for the Borussia Dortmund players, it's automatic.
It depends how rigorous his video analysis has been before this training session. But I'm sure that he will have watched plenty of Borussia Dortmund in terms of in the lead up to actually coming to the club as well. But I think we should also make the point that there is a real difference in terms of the way that Usain Bolt has worked for his entire career, where he has a whole team of people just dedicated solely to him. He's working in individual sport, whereas the dynamics here are completely different.
That's a very interesting point, Archie. He's been in an individual sport. As you say, the focus is solely on him, and now he's part of a team, having to work as a team. Now, he does have those rare occasions as a sprinter where he has had to work as a team. 4x100 meter relay, for example, where timing is everything. The starting when the man with the baton comes around the corner, you need to start at the right time. The handover of the baton needs to be at the right time. So the principles, you would think, you'd hope, are there for Usain Bolt. He needs to adjust them into a footballing environment.
And given that I believe that during one of those 4x100 meter relays, he managed to clock a 100 meter time of 8.7, even within that, you'd say that he is very much capable of working effectively in a team as well.
Absolutely.
But particularly in terms of dressing room dynamics as well, as not having everything just kind of based around you and having to orientate yourself around the team, that is a completely different challenge.
Well, it absolutely is, and we've already spoken about how his influence here, his mentality, could well be key. Just having him around the dressing room for a few days.
I'd like to see him on the ball, perhaps, and try and take on a man or two. Particularly if he says that he is a winger as well. That is a key thing that he'd need to be able to do.
So, ball back now with Mario Gotze. Now Gonzalo Castro. Bolt here on the far left-hand side.
He's found space well.
Well, I think that's
even
how
if
he's being
have the
positioned
ball right now. Yes.
He's being positioned as that, you know, as a striker, essentially. Bolt on the ball again. Touch just let him down, but a lovely little nutmeg that the crowd has enjoyed as well. Well, he recovered well from that one.
I'd like to see that again.
Oh, we'll see if we can get that.
Just to make sure it was a nutmeg and that he was fully in control of the ball. That's all, John.
Well, I wonder if there's any penalty there. Oh, it's gone clean through. Well, that has got the biggest cheer of the day.
I'll give it to him. That was impressive.
I think it's just impressive that, you know, having lost the ball, that's what you want as a footballer, though, isn't it? It hasn't gone well. He lost the ball, but he's chased it down, and he's also got a nutmeg out of it as well. Fantastic work. So now Castro lays the ball off. Castro has often been involved in this session. Bolt now with space to play the long ball, and he's picked out Mario Gotze.
Oh. What a fantastic pass that was by Gotze.
Well, I'm sure that Usain Bolt is taking notes. So again, moves into space. Well, world champions, world record holders on the same pitch. Tolian loses the ball. Bolt once more. Seems to be a nice, useful little combination building with Bolt and Gotze. Seem to be on the same wavelength. So play just brought to a halt. Next session about to begin.
Still reeling from the nutmeg, John.
Well, I'm sure that he's not going to forget that one for a long time.
No.
We're not going to forget that one for a long time. And the
Borussia Dortmund players will make sure that their teammate doesn't forget that for a long time either.
Absolutely. So here is the nutmeg once more. Left foot, dinked it through the legs. That one will surely go viral.
But I guess this is where it really begins, though. We get to see his finishing ability now.
Full-size goals. Would like to point out here that
he's not carrying the goal.
Yeah, world record holders don't need to carry the goal. Now he's saying, "Give it to me, I'll do it." I appreciate that from him. I want to get stuck in here.
He's just apologising for the nutmeg again, though.
I think he is apologising for the nutmeg. Might get to see what the striker Bolt is made of. Peter Stöger now taking his place on the training pitch. Just to direct things. So getting the briefing from the coaching staff.
See how good Usain Bolt's German is now as well.
Well, that's another thing, isn't it? That he has this dream, and let's say it happened, and he starts playing, for example, here at Borussia Dortmund. German is something that he's going to have to learn. Okay, very international club. I'm sure that people can, lots of people at the club can speak English, but take Christian Pulisic, for example. He's put in the hard yards, he's been learning the language, and his German has come on a lot. And that's what Usain Bolt would have to do.
Absolutely, and at the age of 31, not necessarily the easiest thing to pick up either. But,
very true.
But you see the way that the application that Christian Pulisic in particular has, and how good his German is as well. But it would really help in terms of, I think, any time you go to a foreign country, in terms of your integration into the culture.
Well, it would help him not only understand the club better, but the city of Dortmund.
Understand echte Liebe.
Absolutely. True love, real love. Well, this is something to consider. Offside decisions.
Okay.
So that one just comes off the upright. Bolt not involved. It's at the other end. Offside decisions. You got to feel for assistant referees, linesmen, VAR. Is he going to be too quick for VAR?
He'd certainly be another test. You'd wonder whether they'd have to retest it. But I do And I would sympathise with particularly linesmen having to keep up with that and indeed timing the run.
Well,
but I guess that's the joy of it for Bolt.
As we've said, with something like relays, the timing of the run. If he's a winger or a striker, he has to time his run perfectly. And that is a distinct advantage that he has. So Bolt battling with Toljan there. So one of Borussia Dortmund's fastest players up against Bolt. Like to see him on the ball though. It's all about service though. If he's going to be up top, needs the service. Christian Pulisic. Ball not into Bolt, just
loitering
wide of the
at
goal.
Back post there.
Yeah, he's loitering at the back post. If they can get the ball over to him, interesting to see if he can use that height. So here's Gotze. He has put the ball forward towards Bolt, and Usain Bolt does get a goal. Well, we've talked about whether or not he would be good with his head. He's already shown that he is. Archie, picked up beautifully by Mario Gotze, and he made no mistake.
It was an excellent finish. We can see the replay here.
That's a lovely flick on, I have to say.
I quite like the smile on Nuri Sahin's face after that as well. He looked pleased with that finish.
Every striker needs good service, and that was good service. Let's enjoy that again.
Goalkeeper doesn't move as well.
Well,
that's
yeah,
always a satisfying feeling as a striker.
Absolutely. I don't think that the goalkeeper's going to be making that mistake again. Underestimating Usain Bolt. Well, we've had a goal. That's surely what a lot of people would have been wanting. Well, there's a real mix of the experienced players, the first team pros from Borussia Dortmund, and some young talents, the under-23s, the second team. So Usain Bolt can also have a sense of how development works here at this club. And here is Usain Bolt. If only he'd unleashed his speed there.
Perhaps he should have been a little more selfish.
Perhaps he should have been a little more selfish, exactly.
In that instance. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, though, John.
Well, absolutely. Here's Julian Weigl. Easily gathered. So Gotze. Castro. Ball in. Initial touch wasn't fantastic, but it's recovered.
Receiving some very close attention there after the nutmeg earlier. I don't think it's going to happen for a second time.
So Pulisic, part of the build-up. Here's Pulisic. Ball through to Bolt. Let's see what he's like with his feet. Well, we have said that he's a very left-footed player, but he wasn't afraid to try and poke it through with his right.
You talk about those situations where perhaps you have too much time to think as a striker.
And here's Bolt again. Well, he's getting the service, he's got a goal, and he is getting the opportunities.
That first opportunity there. Just wondering if he's overthought it.
Touch let him down there. Well, let's put this into perspective. Michy Batshuayi sticks away 50%. So since he's been at Borussia Dortmund, sticks away 50% of his clear-cut chances. So not all of his chances, his clear-cut chances. So Michy Batshuayi, Belgium international.
Not here today.
Not here today, but a fantastic striker. Well, Bolt's already stuck away one, so it's not 50%.
I make it 25.
I bet about 25. He can build on this. He can build on this.
He can. Just hope it hasn't knocked his confidence.
Oh, that's a beauty. Well, that's something that Usain Bolt can aspire to. That's a cracking strike. Be nice to see what he can do from distance with that left foot.
Seems to have moved into a slightly deeper role now.
Maybe we'll see if he can pick the ball up, turn and get some of that speed going. Let's talk nutrition, Archie.
Well, if
Here's
he's
Bolt.
in Dortmund... Oh, wow.
Oh! Dink over the top.
If he's in Dortmund... I mean, his love of chicken nuggets has been something that has been spoken about before. I wonder if he can warm to currywurst and pommes.
Let's see, but he, you know, part of his diet in Jamaica as an athlete, rice and peas, things of that kind of nature. You know, stuff that's going to be packed with carbs and protein. Let's see that left foot in action. That wasn't a bad attempt. Slightly wide of the mark. We can't see from that angle just how wide of the mark. But I think he's probably been watching some Borussia Dortmund this season. That, to me, was out of the Aubameyang playbook.
Agreed.
So I think he's definitely been watching some Borussia Dortmund this season. So, what does Peter Stöger have for the players now? And he's going over to have a chat with Bolt. Little thumbs up as well. But it's not easy coming into this environment. It's going to need some encouragement. Let's be honest. For the first time in, I don't know, let's say 20 years, for example, he hasn't been the best at something. And, you know, all the way through youth sprinting, into his professional career, his incredible career as an athlete, he has always been the best. And now he's got a challenge on his hands. So he's going to need a little thumbs up.
And it looks like he's getting a few words of advice there from Peter Stöger as well.
Well, this is exactly why Usain Bolt said he wants to come to somewhere like Borussia Dortmund. You know, he's hungry to learn. There are endless quotes from Usain Bolt talking about the way that, you know, his mindset is, his desire to learn, to train, to give everything for what he believes in, for what he's trying to achieve. of those quotes I'll bring out now. There are better starters than me, but I'm a strong finisher.
If we're going off the header, I'd have to...
I would agree with the header.
I'd have to agree with that.
Yeah.
But some forwards tend to be better when they don't have so much time to think about it. Maybe if he's relying on his instinct that little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he also says this, that easy is not an option. No days off, never quit, be fearless. Talent you have naturally. Skill is only developed by hours and hours of work.
Looking at the back post here again.
There he is. Well, it's cut out by Nuri Sahin. Well, Nuri Sahin, a player who came onto the scene at a very young age, so knows all about how to develop into a top-class professional. And here is Sahin. Well, he's come up from the back, and he's absolutely buried that one.
No real secret how dangerous a weapon that left foot of Nuri Sahin is. But that was a great finish.
That was a great finish.
Meanwhile, where is Usain Bolt now?
Sahin once more for another effort. This time the goalkeeper palms the ball wide. Let's talk about his other sporting loves. Archie, he's a massive fan of cricket, plays a lot of cricket. For any of you who love the game of cricket, he once bowled out Chris Gale. No mean feat, that. Hand-eye coordination is obviously key in cricket. Okay, not hand-eye coordination for football, but that link between feet, head, and the ball is going to be key here.
I think that's why perhaps you see him always just trying to time his run at the back post, and actually perhaps why that header works so well in the first place as well. But I think cricket, in terms of adjusting from that to football, perhaps, I mean, I think he used to be a goalkeeper back in his younger days as well.
Yes, indeed. Another goal for the team in the white bibs. I must admit, I haven't been keeping score here, Archie. We know that Bolt's got one. Let's see if Bolt can get the service now. Well, here's another challenge for the Borussia Dortmund players, especially those young players. We have a relatively inexperienced striker on the pitch. So even the best strikers in the world need good service. They thrive off of it.
Well, many of these younger players will have grown up watching Usain Bolt winning gold medals on
Absolutely.
TV. In fact, this year marks the 10th anniversary of him winning that first Olympic gold medal in Beijing, where he ended up, of course, winning 3. So you think that off the pitch, they may be a little bit starstruck perhaps, but as you can see on the pitch, Bolt very much being treated equally in terms of by the teammates. There's no special treatment here. They're going in just as hard as I think they would in any normal training session.
And here is Bolt. Just trying to keep it away from the man. And we should point out, picking out some of these youth team players, bit more difficult than the first teamers. I think he was up against a young man who he nutmegged. I'm saying Dario Scudero. I think that's probably who it is. Oh, Scuderi, sorry, Scudero. I was thinking of the Scudetto then. Scuderi, 19 years old. He's not going to forget that nutmeg. Might not be allowed to forget it either.
And you notice how close Scuderi has been keeping to him ever since that, actually, as well.
Well, here's Bolt. Just lays it off. He's moving into space. That's a nice move. Maybe we get to see the Bolt crossing ability now. Just lays it off. You'd expect better there, I think, from Christian Pulisic.
That's a lovely pass from Shaheen.
That's a lovely pass. Maximilian Philip couldn't bury it afterwards, covered by Gonzalo Castro. So, whistle's gone. We're an hour into this training session now. And that small-sided game, half-pitch match, did result in a Usain Bolt goal. That's what we came to see. See whether or not he's got it. Now, finishing with his feet, might need a little bit of work. Head, as we were talking about right at the beginning, that could be his weapon. Well, he
looks a bit tired.
He's being put through his paces with one of the best teams in Europe. It's a different kind of training than he's used to.
I think he's certainly well aware of that now, John. You can see the sweat dripping off him there.
Yep. Well, the thing is that when he does the 100 meters, he goes, he stops, recovers, and he goes again. This, lots of short sprints, constant movement to try and get yourself into space. So, penalty shootout.
Converted by Scuderi there.
All right, here we go. Here we go. No pressure. He's used to pressure. He knows all about it. But in football, this is pretty much ultimate pressure time. A penalty. So Usain Bolt from the spot, and he converts very calmly and collectedly. He was absolutely in control of his emotions there, and he didn't let the pressure get to him at all.
Let's face it, when you've won gold medals in front of 75,000 people, what's taking a penalty in front of 1,800?
Absolutely. And here we see it again. That's very impressive.
I wonder whether Usain Bolt has a Panenka in his locker.
That I'd love to see. That I would love to see. But what impressed me about that is not only the fact that he held his nerve, positioning was good as well. Well, the goalkeeper went the wrong way, and Usain Bolt did not flinch for a second. He had his plan. He knew exactly what he was going to do, and he executed it perfectly. And now a moment for all of these players to remember the day they trained and played with Usain Bolt. And there'll be some highlights in all of these players' careers, and I'm pretty sure that this is actually going to be up there. Well, he has certainly been put through his paces. Is there anything left in terms of training for Usain Bolt to do? As I say, we've had an hour of training. Depends what Peter Stöger wants to do. Got an international break, so he doesn't really need to push the players too hard. This is a real chance for the team to recoup their energy. And I think that we're going to have a moment for posterity.
Particularly given that next game for Borussia Dortmund is, of course, against FC Bayern München.
Absolutely. The warm applause for Usain Bolt. He's given it his all. He has shown some moments of talent. Also some things that he can work on, and surely, having been through this experience, he's never come out and said he's never expected to be able to do this straight away. He just wants to be able to show what he can do. And he's got a goal, thanks to some marvellous service from Mario Gotze.
You can see what it means to the players as well, all wanting their photo with the Maximilian Philipp there. Jeremy Toljan, the fellow Olympian, as we were talking about earlier as well. Even the press officer as well. He doesn't want to forget today.
No, absolutely not. And nobody will forget it. The day that Usain Bolt came to Borussia Dortmund. When I say the day, this is the second of 2 days of training that he's had with the team.
I think coming over to sign a few autographs now as well, which is good to see.
I think that he could be here for some time, Archie. Because let's be perfectly honest, in the world of sport, just look, that young man next to
a waxwork
of Usain Bolt doing his signature move. Oh, this is really something.
Coming to Dortmund. Yes. I'm the biggest fan from you.
Well, they will be able to say that they saw the goal he scored.
You can really see how hard he worked in that training session as well, just by the amount of sweat there that he's built up.
Absolutely, he's giving it.
Bitte ein Stück zurück. Das hatten wir so besprochen. Please. Bitte ein Stück zurück.
There's going to be a lot of black and yellow shirts to sign. Let's be fair, he ran in yellow his whole career, so this must be like coming home for him.
All that's missing from those shirts, in terms of Usain Bolt's point of view, is a little stripe of green, and then it's
absolutely
all the colours of the Jamaican flag, of which there are a few there, as we were mentioning a little earlier.
Indeed.
Ja, das haben wir vorhin erklärt extra. Bitte ein Stück gedreht. Das ist mir scheißegal jetzt. Aber die Fotografen sollen Platz haben, die haben sonst keinen Platz. Bitte zurück. Ja, die fotografieren von da. Bitte. Geht ihr noch ein Stück zurück, bitte, damit die Fotografen Bilder machen. Sonst kommen die alle hier hin. Dann haben wir ihn noch mehr.
A fantastic moment for these fans. The one thing that Usain Bolt will have got from all of this, I'm absolutely sure, is that he's managed to come to a football club that's so passionate about their team. The highest average attendance in Europe, a real cauldron of atmosphere. If he wanted to come and experience life at a football club, then no better experience than this, than coming to Borussia Dortmund. I really hope that he comes back at some point. Even if this doesn't go anywhere else, he comes back and experiences Bundesliga football, a game at Borussia Dortmund, sees the yellow wall, the 25,000 fans on it, and gets to experience that as well, because I think that for him, as a football fan, would be a real thrill.
He already has signed shirts as well from the likes of Ruud van Nistelrooy and Raúl, although I don't think today's probably the best day for him to mention that he has a signed shirt of Raúl.
No, absolutely not.
But just as a football fan, as you say, the goosebumps that you get by going to clubs like Borussia Dortmund and the atmosphere that you can really experience there is something really to behold. And given the atmospheres too that Bolt has experienced as a professional athlete, I think there's certainly that difference going back into a stadium as a fan, but particularly the consistent noise that you would experience at the Signal Iduna Park as well. Usain Bolt, usually it's for a climax of around about 10 seconds. The atmosphere is white hot. But at Borussia Dortmund, even an hour before the game, you see the yellow wall just filling up.
Well, of course, in his professional life, it's worked like this. He gets down to the blocks. The stadium is quiet, it's silent, waiting with bated breath to see whether or not he's going to break a world record. For these Borussia Dortmund players, they come out into a cauldron. So the Jamaican flag also getting the Usain Bolt treatment.
Worth saying as well that the other Borussia Dortmund players were going along and signing autographs too, the likes of Maximilian Philipp and Mario Gotze. Unsurprisingly in demand.
Not surprising at all.
And if they get Mario Gotze and Usain Bolt to sign their shirt, then they can say they've got two world champions.
Absolutely.
And a programme there with another world champion on it, the man who set up Mario Gotze in Andre Schürrle.
Well, there is...
Sadly not on the training pitch today.
No, sadly not on the pitch today. And it's bound to be a busy day as well for Usain Bolt. Just because training is finished, he's going to have, you know, camera teams, interviews to do, talking about this experience. And that, for me, Archie, I'm interested, really interested to hear what he has to say about this experience. You know, somebody who, in his sporting life, has done everything to switch things up, try something new, and for that, I take my hat off to him for going out, trying this, being in the spotlight as well. Look at all of the camera teams, the crowd, the fact that we've got the fact that we are talking to you today. You know, he's opened himself up for this. If he was scared of failure, if he was scared that he was going to make a fool of himself, he wouldn't have done that, I don't think. And I think that he's been out there and he's given everything, and that, you know, seriously, hats off to him. I like the fan who's trying to hand him a baton as well. Absolutely. Hopefully his timing will be right. And please do not drop the baton.
But I think the point you raised there as well, this could be one of the last times that we see Usain Bolt in a professional environment as well, because he's talked about how perhaps if football isn't the next step for him, then he may just hang up his entire athletic boots as such. So what a privilege it is for these fans to see Usain Bolt in the sporting environment for one final time.
Absolutely.
Perhaps. And you really can't underestimate everything that he achieved in his career.
No, absolutely not. You know, the list is exceedingly long. I mean, we're not just talking about the Olympic golds. We're talking about the world records, the world championships. Well, we're going to leave you with these shots of the fans at Borussia Dortmund's training ground, lapping up the experience of having Usain Bolt not only training with the team, but the opportunity to get autographs, to meet the man himself, the legend, Usain Bolt, 8-time Olympic gold medalist, world record holder, and he's been here at Borussia Dortmund today, being put through his paces. Really has been a day to remember. Archie, your final thoughts?
Things that the fans will never forget. His first touch when they're playing that little game, a header into the bottom corner, but most of all, that nutmeg.
The nutmeg. We can't forget the nutmeg, we can't forget the goal, and we can't forget the fact that, you know, a legend of world sport has been here at Borussia Dortmund today. Well, now we leave you with the moments to remember from this exceedingly momentous day. Well, thanks for joining us. Till next time, goodbye.